Howdy readers, I'm Jason. This is Chapter and Verse, and this is my long-promised film recommendations video here at the beginning of Maybe Midrash. For those of you who don't know, although I can't imagine anybody watching this video doesn't know, Maybe Midrash is a readathon that I came up with, a reading event that I came up with for the month of May, that I am co-hosting this month with Steve Donahue and Felicia from Little Prairie Library. Now, I'll leave our announcement videos linked below, and basically what we're going to be doing in the month of May is reading fiction and nonfiction that deals seriously, thoughtfully, provocatively, bravely with religion, and it can be any religion. As you guys know, in addition to being a serious reader and a former English teacher, I'm also a really big film buff. So I wanted to do a video in which I just talked about a few of my favorite films that deal with religion. So that's what this video is. And the first of these is Andrei Rublev, directed by Andrei Tarkovsky. This is a long, dreamlike film that is principally, to my mind, a meditation on the relationship between God and the act of artistic creation. It considers questions like, to what extent can art help us understand God? To what extent can the everlasting be captured and preserved within or by something that is as transitory as art, something that is as impermanent as art, and it never really arrives at answers. I mean, that's one of the things that I love so much about movies like this. You know, movies, again, that aren't made within the Christian filmmaking industry. I mean, this predated that anyway. This was made in Russia in the 1960s. You know, but filmmakers like Tarkovsky, who was Russian Orthodox, or Terrence Malick, whose film The Tree of Life I'll be talking about here shortly, or Martin Scorsese, who is Catholic and was going to be a priest, and then decided to become a filmmaker instead. And I'll be talking about his film that is about the Dalai Lama. One of the things about these movies is that the artists are absolutely free to explore the loss of faith, to explore doubt, to explore anxiety within faith. You know, what does God's silence mean? What does God's absence mean? You know, filmmakers who aren't beholden to any kind of, you know, doctrinal line towing or, you know, any kind of, you know, theological expectation from a studio or from financiers. You know, these artists are capable of really obeying their own visions, obeying their own callings, and as a result, the work that they put out, the films that they put out, are infinitely more provocative and wise and profound and mysterious and fascinating than garbage like God's Not Dead or any of these other films that feel like they belong on some kind of, I don't know, Baptist version of the Hallmark Channel or something like this. But yeah, if you're looking for something that you can get lost in and that is going to feel a little bit like you're in a kind of reverie, Andrei Rublev is the film to watch. One word of warning, one word of caution, I suppose. There is violence against animals in this film, so it can be difficult to watch. And it's the one kind of blemish on this movie, in my opinion. But every time I watch this, I'm blown away by it. I see new things, you know, and actually I feel like it just kind of, you know, needles its way deeper into my own thinking about religion and my own identity as a person of faith each time I see it. So, Andrei Rublev. And the next film I'm going to talk to you guys about is Kundun, directed by Martin Scorsese, which I mentioned just a little bit ago. So this is a movie that is, it's essentially a biopic of the 14th Dalai Lama. It covers his youth and his adolescence, his early adulthood, up to the time, essentially, that he was forced to leave Tibet. And so it is about events, and it is about political turmoil. In many ways, more than it's about Buddhism. But one of the things that I find really fascinating about this film is how Scorsese explores Buddhist ideas and concepts in the filmmaking itself. And one example of this would be Philip Glass's original score for this film. Now, Philip Glass is a composer who is known for repetition and patterns in his music. And not patterns that you have to go searching for. I mean, really, really deeply etched patterns. And I just feel like Scorsese's choice of Glass to score the film was really inspired because his style, through that kind of hypnotic repetition, it tends to suggest ritual, and it suggests reincarnation, the repeat of something again and again and again and again and again. And I just love how Scorsese does that with the music in this. He does that with a lot of visuals in this. We'll see the snow, for instance, blowing off of a mountain, which is a kind of visual echo of something later in the film. When we see this sand sculpture that has been done by these Buddhist monks being brushed away when it's finished, again illustrating the impermanence of things visually. And it's just magnificent. This is probably Scorsese's least known film, I would say. But in some ways it's his strangest film. I feel like this is Scorsese's second or third best movie. It's far better than any of his gangster epics. Far better. And I'll go to the mat on that. So, Kundun. And then lastly, we've got The Tree of Life by Terrence Malick, which in my opinion is the greatest film so far of the 21st century. This came out in 2011. Kundan came out in 97. I think Andrei Rublev, I can't remember if I said it, but I want to say that was 1966 or 67. But yeah, so The Tree of Life came out almost 10 years ago. This film is as much about everything as I think a film could probably be. It is cosmic, it is personal, it is grandiose, hushed, it is structurally and thematically complex. It's also incredibly simple and straightforward and heartfelt. It's a strange film that's attempting to do a hell of a lot, and it could have failed really easily. It's that ambitious. The thing that I love most that Malick does in this movie is how, by giving us a long sequence that depicts the birth of the universe and the evolution of Earth, we see dinosaurs, we see all kinds of, strange, amoeba-ish critters swimming up through the water and what have you. By juxtaposing that with small town life in Texas, it situates human life, right? The quotidian, the tiny little things that we take for granted and that we tend to think make us so small. Why would God, ever have any interest in us? By taking these little human lives and setting them against this backdrop or alongside this this monolith that is the birth of the universe, it situates human life in the context of creation with a capital C. And it reminds us that there is nothing diminishing or trivial or offensive or sacrilegious about realizing that human life exists on an evolutionary timescale. If anything, it makes human life seem more significant in relation to this panorama, right? This exploding, visceral, canvas of beauty that is the universe, and that is our planet, the planet on which we live, I should say. But anyhow, The Tree of Life is a masterpiece. It's the kind of film I can't imagine ever tiring of. It's the kind of film that teaches you something new about cinema and about yourself, about religion, about family, every time you watch it. Every time you even think about it, actually. So, yeah, The Tree of Life, Terrence Malick. And those are 3 recommendations. I could have done more, but I didn't want this video to be an hour long. And because I'm planning on Maybe Midrash being an annual event, I wanted to, yeah, save some titles to talk about next year and the year after that. So, that's 3 movies. If you've seen any of these, I'd love to know what you think of them in the comments below. I will be back sometime in the next week or 2 with my first review video for Maybe Midrash. I started reading the Christian Wyman book this morning, so I suspect that's going to be the one that I finish first. So I'll be back soon with a video on it, and I will talk to you guys again then. Adios.